Let's give this video a rose. Hello everyone, I'm Sarah from Everyday Starlet. Welcome to my channel. I make videos to inspire you to be the star of your own life. So apparently we had another finale episode of a new season of The Bachelorette, and there's been a lot of buzz about some of the things that have happened online. So I wanted to talk about a few topics that are Bachelor, Bachelorette related, some just in general about the franchise and some things about this current season. Now, before I get into this, this is where I might lose a lot of you. I want to start off by saying I have never watched an episode of The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. I've never wanted to, and I'm very proud that I've never watched it. I actually have a lot of thoughts on the franchise and the concept of the franchise that I will get into. But if you are looking for somebody who is a hardcore Bachelor, Bachelorette fan and is going to give you a play-by-play and talk about all the details and the players and the everything, this isn't the video for you. Like, I don't judge you if you do watch it, like if you are a hardcore fan, because there's a lot of like trashy TV things that I watch that frankly I judge myself for, like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and I have videos talking about them on here. So clearly I have no place to judge anybody's TV preferences. However, everything I've ever learned about the Bachelor, Bachelorette franchise, I've learned against my will. Back in the day, in my youth, I used to watch a lot of like E-News, and I used to read all kinds of like celebrity gossip magazines and stuff. So I was familiar with some of the players, but I've never watched an episode and really don't want to. My perspective on this in this video is going to be more on general topics that have come up that I think are important to point out around the franchise in general, and then a few topics that I've seen online being talked about with this most recent Bachelorette finale. So again, if you're looking for a play-by-play of the seasons, or you're looking for like in-depth details on the people on the show, this isn't the video for that. But I think that some of the topics I'm going to cover in this video could be helpful and informational for anybody. I also want to make a little disclaimer, as I do in all my videos. I don't know any of the people that I'm talking about in this video personally. I'm literally just going by public image, public persona, the things that are available for us to see in the public eye. I've also been in the entertainment business. I have auditioned for a reality show before, not this one, but like I have a little bit of knowledge about behind the scenes of some of these things. But generally speaking, I'm just going by some of the topics that get presented to the public, and I'm just talking about things public image wise. I don't know any of these people personally, so none of this stuff is meant to be a personal attack on anybody or any individual. So first I want to talk about the Bachelor Bachelorette franchise. This has been going on for so long, and I'm actually shocked at how long this has been going on for. It kind of boggles my mind, because I am old enough, and this is going to age me so much, but I'm old enough to remember when The Bachelor started. And it was actually The Bachelor at first, and then they ended up doing a Bachelorette. I remember when the first Bachelorette series happened. Again, I didn't watch it, but like I remember it being a big like pop culture thing that people were talking about. So let me get into the primary reason why I'm so adamantly opposed to this franchise. Again, if you enjoy this for your own just, you know, enjoyment or whatever, that's fine. I'm not judging you. However, the primary reason why I was initially just so adamantly opposed to the concept of The Bachelor specifically, and I stand by this to this day, even after all these years of the franchise, is that having an individual man and then a bunch of women competing for that man is completely against our human biology. It's not natural, it's not healthy, it's terrible that we are promoting this idea, because women are not designed to be competing for men. So then when they started doing the Bachelorette franchise, as much as I wasn't really motivated to watch it, I don't have quite as many issues with that, because the idea of an individual woman and then a bunch of men competing for her attention is much more in line with our biology. However, for me, by the time they started doing the Bachelorette franchises, I was kind of already like, I don't want to have anything to do with this. So I'm not as adamantly opposed to the concept of the Bachelorette, so to speak, at least in the setup of having one female and having males compete for her, because that's much more in line with our human biology. However, the idea of the Bachelor franchise and having one individual man and having women compete for him is absolutely, completely against our natural human biology. And the fact that we are promoting this idea has always really, really bothered me. So I've always suspected this to be the case, but they have actually done some research studies about this. That in times in human history when men have had to compete for women, as in there's been fewer women and there's been more men, so men had to compete harder with other men to find a woman, society gets better. And when you have an overabundance of women, and women are now expected to compete for men because there's fewer men as options, society gets worse. Now, the reason for that to me is very obvious. When you have a society where men have to compete for women, men have to become better people in order to impress women. For men, if you want to find a woman, you have to become a better member of society. You have to become a better provider, which will mean you're probably a harder worker. You have to become a protector, which means you usually have to be physically strong. You have to basically show a woman that you can be a productive member of society, that you can be a good husband, that you can be a good father. Like, you have to gain the qualities that it would take to attract a woman, which the qualities in a man that a woman is going to find attractive typically, I mean, unless we're talking about a woman with some like trauma issues or things like that, but like generally speaking, if we're talking about like healthy adults, the qualities that men need to embody in order to attract a quality partner are going to be qualities that are going to make that man a better productive member of society, just better overall. The qualities that women have to embody if they have to compete for men usually makes a woman less of a productive member of society. Usually that woman, in order to get male attention, will have to, I'm going to say objectify herself, but this can go in different ways. She usually has to fit into the very ridiculous Madonna whore complex, which I have other videos diving into deeper, but she either usually has to convince a man that she is sort of this like virginal, perfect housewife, trad wife, slave to him, or that she is basically a sexual object for him. Those are the only women that get attention when women have to compete for men. They're just two kinds of like pick-me girls, but essentially when a girl has to become a pick-me girl, she usually has to lessen herself in order to compete for men, which is why it is so much better for society in general when men are competing for women, because men have to become better people when they have to compete for women, whereas unfortunately women have to become objectively not as good a person in order to attract men. I don't love that that's the case, but that's just the reality of things. So again, for me, the Bachelorette franchise is not quite as destructive to society as the Bachelor franchise is, but the Bachelor franchise and the concept of that show I find just to be so destructive, because the idea that women should be competing for men is actually so destructive to our society, and it just not a good message to be sending overall. And unfortunately, there are just too many men nowadays who are sitting around and like waiting for women to compete for them. I've had discussions with guys too on like live streams that I've been a guest on or things like that, where guys will say like, oh, it's every man's dream to just like, you know, lie on a beach somewhere and have women come to them. I think it might be a guy's like temporary fantasy for that to happen, but generally speaking, most men are gonna not find that fulfilling in the long term, because men thrive in challenge. So when men find women coming to them to not be a challenge, it might satisfy their, and it probably will satisfy their addiction to temporary gratification, but it's not gonna feel fulfilling for them in the long run, because men thrive in challenge, so they're gonna find that to become too easy, and it's very easy for them to become complacent. And when men become too complacent, they tend to sink into depression issues and things like that. Like, men thrive in challenge. So when women come to them too easily and they get things too easily and they haven't earned those things, they don't appreciate those things, and it doesn't give them that drive to be better. That's why I always say, like, ladies, when you have really high standards, it's actually a gift to men. Like, a lot of men are gonna whine about it, they're gonna complain about it, but it's actually a gift to men to have really high standards that you expect men to either meet or you just leave them alone. It's better for men to have something to reach for. I think unfortunately we've set up a society where too many men have become complacent. They've become addicted to a lot of things, but a lot of things that are just giving them a temporary hit of, you know, instant gratification that's not going to be fulfilling long term. That goes into a whole other topic, and I'm not saying that the Bachelor Bachelorette franchise is, you know, the reason why this has happened. I think it was probably more of a, you know, something that came about because a lot of these things were happening in society, but I don't think it's helping it. So that's the primary reason why I've always avoided the concept of the Bachelor Bachelorette franchise. The only things I really know about it are stuff that has come to me kind of through mass media or social media or things like that. But the fact that there was a recent finale of The Bachelorette, who was Jenn Tran, who was the first Asian American Bachelorette, which, you know, frankly, again, I don't watch the series, so I can't really speak completely on the diversity of everybody that's been on the show, but I do think that it's, you know, about time, when the show's been going on as long as it has, that they start having more diversity on shows like this. Again, I haven't watched any of this stuff, but from what I'm getting from social media and all the buzz on social media is that Jenn Tran, who is the Bachelorette, chose a winner of her season, and she proposed to him, which I'll get to that in a minute, but she proposed to him, and I guess he proposed back, I guess. Then after the show ended, like before they came back for the reunion, he broke up with her over text message, and there's some drama around why he broke up with her, and you know, there's some drama around that. And honestly, the details are not really a factor. I just want to talk about some of the topics that I'm seeing come up that people are buzzing about around this whole drama. For starters, I want everybody to remember this is a TV show. So they do this for entertainment. And they want you to watch the show. The show's been going on for a long time, so they have to mix things up. And they're also tied to ABC. They're tied to Dancing with the Stars. Jenn was already signed up to do Dancing with the Stars. This kind of buzz and stuff does lead people to watch her. People are already online talking about, let's support her in Dancing with the Stars because she's been through this and everything. And I'm not saying that anybody's being dishonest here, but I do think we have to remember that this is television. This is entertainment. Reality TV is not strictly reality, and I think we need to kind of remember that when we're actually looking at some of these things, right? When we're looking at the heartbreak, we're looking at the, you know, the drama surrounding this stuff. I think it's important to remember that we're talking about entertainment. We're talking about television. The first thing that I saw a lot of people getting upset about was that the show is not screening people properly enough to make sure people are there actually to find love, and they're not just there for clout or to get on television or something like that. I don't want to judge anybody, and I don't want to burst anybody's bubble, but the idea that anybody thinks in this day and age that somebody is signing up for a reality TV show where a bunch of people are all getting together to compete for love, the fact that anybody thinks that anybody is signing up for that for any other reason than the fact that they want to get on TV and they think they might have a chance to be famous is actually being delusional. Like, nobody is signing up for these shows to actually find love. I do admit, I think the show does a pretty good job of trying to find people who are willing to kind of sell the public on the idea that they're just there for love, because that's the illusion that they want to keep up. So that's really what they're screening for when they do. I mean, I've never auditioned for this show, but I have auditioned for other reality shows, and they're not looking for someone who's genuinely themselves or anything. They're looking for somebody who's going to keep up the illusion with what the show wants. Like, that's what they're looking for. They're not screening people for, you know, whether or not they're clout chasers or want to be on TV, because those are the only people that are signing up for something like this. Nobody's signing up for this. Like, nobody signs up for The Bachelor or Bachelorette, at least in this day and age. Like, earlier on in the show, when it was less popular, when it was less known that the person on the show was, you know, could possibly get like a TV deal, or, you know, you could stand out on the show and you could, you know, get a spin-off show, or you could get on Dancing with the Stars, or you could get maybe a, you know, an entertainment reporter gig or something like that, or whatever. Maybe in the very beginning, people might have been signing up for this show thinking like, oh, I can go on TV, but I can also maybe find love. Great. But by this point in time, especially in the age of social media and everybody trying to be like social media famous overnight and stuff, you're not going to get people signing up for the show who are there looking for love. Now, is it possible that two people in the course of this show might actually like meet and fall in love? Yeah, anything's possible. You know what I mean? Like, it's not out of the realm of possibilities that you get a bunch of people together and people meet and connect and you might find love. Although this show has a terrible track record when it comes to actually finding love. I tried looking it up. I found different stories, but I'm pretty sure they claim about like 10 couples maybe are together out of the whole franchise, which I think actually factors into only about 20% of people are actually with the person that they selected. And I think even that number is a little gray. I don't know. I tried doing some research about this, and it's the internet, so like the information is not totally accurate, but this show has a horrible track record. So the idea that people are actually there to find love and that this is a practical way to find love is slim to none. So they're not going to do a better job of screening people for being clout chasers or something, because they're assuming everybody going on the show is doing that. They just want somebody that can sell to the public that they're actually there for love. That's just part of the deal. I also have seen some buzz about, I guess maybe they've changed the way that they've done things. I don't know, because I haven't been paying attention to it. I guess that people signed up for this season, and I don't know how long this has been going on, but I guess people signed up for this season not knowing who the Bachelorette was going to be. There's a theory that a lot of the guys on the show signed up for the Bachelorette because they thought that the Bachelorette was going to be a different person from the previous Bachelor season. I've seen people use the name Maria. Again, I don't know who this is. I've seen a couple other names that people suspected may be the Bachelorette. And so there's a lot of women who are kind of confused because these guys are acting as if they didn't think she was going to be the Bachelorette and they actually wanted another woman. The name I'm hearing the most is Maria, but I don't really know anything about this. And I'm seeing women online like debating whether or not Maria's more attractive or Jenn's more attractive, or if these guys should want Maria or should they want Jenn, or like I'm seeing all this buzz. And again, I don't really know the deal with these people. I'm not a fan of like pitting women against each other for looks or appearance or anything like that. So I'm not going to get into that. But I do want to kind of emphasize to women that while physical appearance and being a certain beauty standard, it's not nothing. There are some men who are only going to want a woman that fits into a certain beauty standard, and they may have a specific type and that they're only going to be attracted to that type. That happens. I won't deny that that's a thing. However, it's not the only thing. And the fact that women are jumping to, well, why would men want this woman over that woman because this woman's more attractive than that woman or whatever. And I'm not even going to get into girl pretty and guy pretty because I think that some of those things are a little bit different. There are some people whose looks appeal more to women, like as far as women thinking that a girl is cute and a guy might not necessarily think that she's as cute, whatever. I think there's a lot of variations in that, and I'm not saying if that applies to this situation or not because I don't really know. I have not really looked at either of these women that closely, and I don't really want to because I'm not trying to get into like some kind of a physical appearance comparison between two women. But I do want to bring up a story that I think is, young people may not be as familiar with. If you're more my generation, you may remember this. Many seasons ago, I was watching a lot more like entertainment news and watching a lot more pop culture stuff and everything, so I would hear more about the Bachelor Bachelorette seasons that were going on. And I don't remember what season this was, but it was quite a while ago. There was a Bachelor season, and one of the contestants was Jillian. I believe Jillian came in third, but Jillian was very sexual. I mean, the show's ABC, so like they weren't showing things really explicitly, but she was a very openly sexual woman. Not shaming or judging that, but she was very openly sexual. And I believe she said something on the show about like needing to test a guy out physically in order to know if he was the right guy or something, like, you know, kind of more innuendos and things like that. Well, they announced that Jillian was going to be the next Bachelorette. And then they announced that there was a record number of men that signed up for that season to compete for Jillian. Now, all of the women's magazines were all using the angle that Jillian was not the most classically beautiful, so it was a sign that men were not as superficial. Now, I want to state that I don't think there's anything wrong with Jillian's look. She was a beautiful girl. The show in general, the Bachelor Bachelorette shows in general back then, the women did have a much more natural look than they do now. Times have changed. But in reality, Jillian was more of a, you know, a regular girl next door kind of a look, as opposed to being like a supermodel beauty standard, right? And again, there was nothing wrong with her look. She was a beautiful girl. She still is. She had her own reality show for a while or something like that, whatever. I'm not knocking her looks at all. But that was the message that the media was selling women was, oh, men are really not that shallow and superficial, because the woman who was kind of like the least like classically beautiful girl on The Bachelorette got the most guys trying to compete for her. And I'm like, does anybody not realize that she's also been the most openly sexual of all the competitors? And that's why so many guys are signing up, because she basically went on a television show and basically said that if she was going to date a guy, she had to test him out physically first. So like, guys will overlook a woman maybe even not being his physical type if they think they can get sex from her. It doesn't mean that men are less shallow. It means men are horny. And to be honest with you, I think this is a really important thing for women to understand, is you will be amazed at the work that men will put in to get easy sex. Like, it's kind of mind-boggling, to the point where like, if men actually put that kind of work in to get quality sex, you'd be better off in the long run. But men will put in a ton of work just to get easy sex. It's not logical, but it is what it is. So I only say this because just physical appearance is not the only factor, and that doesn't necessarily mean that men aren't shallow, but there's other factors involved. And I don't want women to start getting into this idea of like, it's just how pretty somebody is or something like that, because like there's other factors that go into this. That's all I want to go with that. There's other ways that men can be shallow, I guess is what I'm getting at with this conversation. And the last topic that I want to get into is the fact that apparently Jenn proposed to the winner of the show, and then I guess he proposed back to her was the deal or whatever, but either way they're not still together, so it doesn't really matter. But I was interested to know, because again, I'd never watched the show, so I know that the concept was that on The Bachelor, the Bachelor was supposed to pick a woman at the end and propose to her. And I knew that in The Bachelorette, the woman would pick a guy in the end. But I was curious because people were making a big deal about Jenn proposing. I didn't really know how The Bachelorette usually ended, like if the woman proposed to the man or not, or she just selected a guy or something like that. So apparently Jenn's season is the first time that The Bachelorette has actually proposed to the winner. I guess in every other season, it's like the woman picks a winner and then I guess the guy proposes. You know, part of the reason why I think that they choose to do a proposal is I'm pretty sure the show will pay for a ring, and probably a pretty fancy ring. And I think if you stay together, or there's some stipulations as to whether the show will cover the ring or things like that or whatever. So the idea that there is a proposal at the end of the show, I think is highly encouraged, and I think that there are financial benefits to having the show end that way, which again, remember, it's entertainment. But the fact that Jenn proposed at the end of the show, and again, I didn't watch the show, so I know nothing about Jenn, so I'm not here to comment on her masculine, feminine energies. I don't know anything about her personality. I don't know anything about her. I haven't even really followed her public image or anything like that, so I cannot comment on any of that stuff. However, ladies, never, ever, ever, ever propose to a man. Don't do it. Do not do it. And I hope that this public humiliation, while I'm sure it's probably staged for entertainment, I hope that this helps prove that point. Ladies, do not propose to men, okay? I know that there's this whole push in society now that men and women are equal and men and women are the same, and that, you know, men and women can do everything that the other one can do and things like that. It just does not work that way. There are certain aspects to our biology as men and women that make us different and make our needs different in relationships and make how we have to show up in relationships different. And we are getting so far away from this, and I mean, I could do a whole video about this in itself, but I just want to touch on this point that it will never not look desperate for a woman to propose to a man. I mean, I would go so far as to say, and I've said this before in other videos and people get really angry at me when I say this, but women should not even be asking a man out. A man should be doing all the work to do the pursuing, always. Now, once you're in a relationship with a guy, you can suggest like going out on a date, or you can suggest doing something together or something like that. Like once you're in a long-term relationship, I'm not saying that you can't ever like initiate sex, or you can't ever, you know, initiate a date or something like that or whatever. Like once you're in a relationship, he should always be doing it more. In the beginning, as a woman, you should always be leaning back and letting a man come to you. You should never be going to him, okay? It's the old saying, and I know it's like practically an overused cliche now, but it's true. The sperm swims to the egg does not swim to the sperm. The bee comes to the flower doesn't go to the bee. That's just the deal, okay? Men thrive in challenge, women thrive in safety. Men need to be the pursuers because men only appreciate that which they've earned. So they need to put in the effort. Women only appreciate that which they have not been made to earn. But for women, if you have to earn a man's love and attention, it's not going to mean as much to you because you're going to feel like, oh my God, I had to do all this work to earn it. It doesn't feel as special. Men are the opposite. Men only appreciate what they had to earn. If they get stuff too easily from a woman, they don't appreciate it because they just assume she's probably just desperate or just like this for everybody. They don't truly appreciate it and they don't see her as having value. They don't appreciate her. Whereas when men pursue women, women are going to appreciate it because they're going to feel special, because they're going to feel like they haven't been forced to earn his love and affection. He's naturally giving it to her. Men and women are just different. Please, and I know there's going to be women that are going to come to my comments and be like, I asked my husband out and I did all the pursuing and the chasing and we've been married for whatever, blah, 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 and we're great and whatever. Look, if you're happy, that's fine. But I'm telling you, if a man is not pursuing you, if he's not asking you out, if he's not making the effort, especially in the beginning, and if he's not the one proposing to you, you're not who he really wants. And I know, believe me, I've been that girl who's made excuses for guys. He's just shy. Oh, he's just intimidated. He's just, none of those things matter. Because if that guy is too intimidated by you or he's too shy, he's never going to be able to be the type of man that's going to show up for you in a relationship the way that as women we need men to show up in relationships. So please stop doing for men. Please stop chasing men. Do not ask men out. Do not propose to men. My God, don't do it. And I'm not at all sitting here and saying that like this is Jenn's fault because she proposed to him or anything. Like, from a complete outsider's perspective, knowing nothing about the show or nothing about how the season went or anything, obviously these two, not a match, right? So I'm not at all saying that like it's her fault and if she hadn't proposed to him that he would still be with her or something like that. Like, I don't think that probably they were meant to be together in the first place. However, as a woman, you should never be proposing to a man. You should never feel like you have to propose to a man. Again, I'm not blaming her for this. I just want women to know this is not the answer. Don't do it. Because at the end of the day, like, you're gonna lose either way. You're either going to propose to a man and he's gonna reject you because he's gonna be freaked out because he's gonna assume you're desperate, because it never doesn't come across desperate. Or if he does say yes, you've now won yourself a man who realizes that you're desperate for a relationship and he's going to treat you like you're desperate for a relationship. So you're never going to win. Even if you get the guy, you're never going to win. Make men do the work for you. If you don't feel like you deserve it, work on that. Work on yourself. Please, please, please do not spend your time trying to chase men. Let men pursue you. If you are feeling like you're in like a chase mode, if you are feeling like you're in like a desperation mode or something, kind of feeling like you're in some pick me energy and stuff, I actually have a really exciting new project that I'm really excited to share with you very soon to help you work on that and to help you heal that. So stay tuned for updates on that. It's coming very soon and I'm so excited. If you're excited for that and if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please give it a big thumbs up. Be sure you subscribe to my channel for all my updates. Any thoughts on the topics in this video, any other topic suggestions, let me know. Leave a comment in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you and I love your suggestions. If you'd like to work on healing your dark feminine energy, which can actually help you really step into your own feminine power, be sure you check out my Dark Feminine Energy Guided Journal, available now on Amazon. Links to that, as well as all my courses, masterclasses, and my social media accounts are in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you join me next time.